woke up, tech talk, news flash, AI rolling in future in a dash. Digital dreams, cold and safe. We got the vision, never out of sync. AI, flies it to the sky. Digital world, we reaching
You're
high,
into
not
music and stuff.
centralized.
I'm not.
It's huge in music.
Really not.
Yeah, it really is. Anyway, we're at episode 9 here, folks. This is
Episode 9.
stick to eating the dogs and cats. Yeah, we didn't play that.
You know why I took it out?
Why?
It didn't, because we ended up mumbling too much before we started saying
Oh.
the episode.
Oh, you
And-
could have just drowned us out.
Well, yeah, it just didn't. It didn't
Okay.
bleed into the conversation properly.
Anyway, look it up, folks.
Yeah.
Cats and Dogs remix. I'm
Dogs,
sure it's going to be the
cats,
hottest song.
Dogs. I hope the
For the
dogs.
rest of the year.
They eat the cats.
The campaign slogan of
They eat
2024.
the dogs. Sounds more like a
It's
bad Arnie impersonation.
Regardless of your, political beliefs and stuff. It was an entertaining song. Let's say
It
that.
was very entertaining. It did the rounds very nicely.
Yeah, great sound bites. Anyway, how are you? What's happening this
Good,
week?
man. It's been a very busy research prep orientated week, which has been cool because I've been delving a lot into some really interesting tools.
Said the magic word. You know he's fake AI, folks. He said delving.
Delving, is that
Yeah.
the magic?
Delving is the magic word. As soon as you see delve or in the realms of, you know it's AI generated. Chris,
Maybe I am AI.
pinch yourself, mate.
I
See how good it is? See how
doesn't-
realistic this
doesn't
is?
hurt.
These video generators are ridiculous.
We can't tell the difference now.
No. We're gonna
I'm
start
not
off.
me. I'm actually in bed right now asleep.
This is it. It's that Bruce Willis movie Replicants or something. But
That's
there's going to be
No,
a
no,
bit of
it's-
talk about
it's more-
podcast.
I'm asleep right now, so
Yeah.
I'm the night Chris.
Oh, you're not okay. Rick and Morty reference there, folks. It's all about the references here on a Friday. But okay, so research.
But it's been
and
good,
stuff.
yeah. So I've been, I'm really excited. I'm doing this research page. I'm using this particular tool. 2 tools I've been using quite a lot: Dovetail and Juno. Hey Juno is really,
Okay.
it's conducts a study or. Survey is a really bad word to use. I don't want to use it as a survey. It's like an interview using an LLM.
So like a
So you-
survey.
Yeah, but you're engaged in the conversation, and the AI adapts the questionings to help you get the outcomes you need without having to have a person conduct the interviews.
Oh, interesting.
So while surveys, you're very fixed on
Yeah.
the questions and answers you get, we're using AI, it's able to adapt. And so I've been utilizing that for this project, and very, very cool what it can do.
Yeah, because you need to get info out of clients
Yeah.
and stuff, and
I wanna
sometimes just asking a question a certain way doesn't
Doesn't help.
elicit the right answer, right?
Exactly right. So this is, I'm just really bad at conducting into That's
I mean, I know I've been there, so but yeah, that is pretty interesting. It's that reversal of things. We've done projects where it's using Sike as an engine to extract answers to set questions instead of the user having to find the answers themselves. It just draws it out of documents, so it saves them time. But that's an interesting one because it's like the other way around. How do you have the questions be the thing that adapts? Great.
Exactly. And so the great thing about it is it's able to add that extra layer where I've always found traditional surveys a little bit cumbersome, they're long and annoying, and people really don't engage with it. AI sprinkles a little bit of unique magic to the experience for the person
Personalizes it,
conducting
right?
It doesn't take away from the one-to-one interviews that you still want to have, or putting people in front of products and testing and learning. It just adds that extra layer where traditional surveys, I think, get rid of that and replace it with these AI tools.
Love it.
So much better. So much better.
Fantastic. And what's coming up for you this week?
Well, this week we're hitting the weekend already. I mean, this is, for us, it's a Friday.
Friday.
People will see this on Monday, Tuesday.
Come to you from the past. Ooh.
Ooh, magic.
You know that saying, here's a photo of me when I was younger. Every photo of you is a photo of you when you were younger, technically.
Everything you look at other than a mirror is technically even a mirror.
Yeah.
Because, light takes that split second to get from the mirror back to your eye.
Yep.
You're always looking at yourself in the past.
Oh, exactly. It's crazy. Look at all the stars.
You've technically never seen yourself in the present.
No, technically. Anyway, that's crazy. That's crazy. Episode 9, folks. It's all about the crazy stuff.
Getting deep.
Getting deep. What have I been up to, Chris. What have I been?
What have you been up to? Please explain to yourself.
Elucidate on the words that are coming out of this thesaurus is basically a few events. So we'll talk about that. AI in healthcare. Yeah, such an AI. Rate this transcript, run it through an AI detector, and it's going to find it. It found old writing of mine, early detectors, that it reckoned that I wrote it with AI that was from like 2010. I don't know how it knew I was a robot back then, but I believe it. But anyway, been at events, AI in healthcare events. I've run a roundtable with folks at the Build Club on the upcoming AI regulations. And there's not just the one government department's looking at overall kind of mandatory guardrails, but even a specific area, which is in healthcare. And funnily enough, there was that healthcare event. They're looking at what they can do when it comes to regulating and having safe AI for healthcare. So really interesting stuff there. And they're just playing around with like Google, the Notebook LM, which we'll go through, which is going to make redundant us potentially.
Well, I mean, it's not.
But I embrace it.
Redundant.
I think it will.
We still have to go into the tool ourselves and add the things we want. I will talk.
I'm already working on automation and stuff there. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. We have to automate it, and then we just live off the back end of that.
Exactly.
Great. I'm so excited for it.
Exactly. Well, let's bring up Notebook LM. I think you had
Start with Google's.
You had a video. You had a video here, and this is like an example from a YouTuber that
I don't think we need to show the video. You've got a live example of it, don't you?
I didn't mean to go into full screen. I do have a live example. I am using a new browser, folks, which is Arc, which has got the left hand.
Tell me about your experience with Arc, because I tried to use this.
Welcome to Arc.
Many months ago, and I just couldn't. Every time I used it, I was finding myself going back to Brave or Google.
Left-hand mode is, I guess, the hardest thing to get around because you're here and you've already got something that may have a left-hand thing in the actual browser, and the browser itself is a collection of tabs on the left-hand side. So I guess that's the bug that it's not a bug, but it's just a feature I don't quite like. And I'm sure there's a way that you could maybe move it to the top. However, what I do like is that, and I'm not showing it here, I've got another tab where I can group things basically. So here's all the side tabs that I've got there, work and other kind of stuff.
Can you group more meaningfully than you can in, say, Brave and Google? Like in Chrome, you can really group things up.
Do you mean by having like different profiles?
Oh, you can have profiles and grouping.
Oh, okay.
That's another way. Like
I might need to go back to Chrome because I've been using Brave for the longest time. But anyway, it's an experiment. We'll see. Point is, Notebook LM. This was something that was taken from a pod. I basically took meeting notes from one of the roundtables and stuff that we did for Build Club, talking about the upcoming AI regulations. And what's going to play here on screen is basically a podcast that's been created, and a really interesting.
What's the text that you've implemented here? Like, what have you said to? Because there's a process to get to this. You can't.
Yeah. So I said I took the transcript not transcript, but I took notes from a meeting that we did. I just threw those notes in.
So literally throw notes in, and then the LLM or the Google Notebook has gone, okay, cool. These are interesting touch points. I'm gonna create a podcast. Just off those points. It's not like you've put in text or you've put in a transcript. It's literally just.
I could take a transcript.
I've done. You can, but it's more like all you've done is put a bunch of notes, and it's just then made this 10-minute podcast. Off the back of some dot points.
It's basically. Let's have a listen and stuff before we get into the detail.
Kind of dry, right? But trust me, this is way more interesting than it sounds. Especially if you're actually building AI or using it in your work. It's a big deal, and we're going to deep dive into it today. Think like. Passionate debate with tech people, coffee, maybe some Vegemite.
Coffee.
There wasn't coffee.
And the really juicy part, we're not just talking about like lines of code and algorithms. This is about, who gets to define what responsible AI even means. And the ripple effects, those are going to be felt by everyone.
That's my
businesses,
voice,
innovators, everyday Aussies just trying to order takeout. It's going to touch a lot of lives.
So to get into all of that, we're going right to the source, the Build Club. It's this group of developers, tech folks, basically anyone deep in the trenches of Australian AI, right?
Crazy, right?
They had a bit of a powwow recently about these proposed
Sounds like you.
AI guardrails from the government.
It's very
and
American.
let me tell you, from what I hear, it got pretty lively.
Oh, it did not get pretty lively, and we did not have coffee. It was all just like
coffee.
It was all online, and it's taken it from just notes that I've created, but. in any case, it does imagine stuff, and they do highlight there that Notebook LM may still sometimes give inaccurate responses, but it's creative. So for creative things, I think it is interesting. Some people have thrown in actual like documents of like, here's the AI guardrails, or here's the consultation paper. So just be careful with that, because I mean, it imagined a few things there to make it sound more creative, but the fact that it can go back and forth is quite interesting. I think underneath the hood, and this is my supposition, that there is a set of instructions. Like, you've got these two personas, and yeah, there's voice stuff attached to them, but each of them has like a basically set of instructions. And then in terms of how the conversation runs, it's making it more conversational, making it inquisitive, making it more realistic and sounding like a podcast. And the reason I'm trying to figure that out, the biggest takeaway from this for me is that this shows you how it's not just like the basic, hey, turn this into a podcast transcript, but they've shown you how you can make it so much more realistic. So starting with podcasts first, I've been playing around with how do you get a set of agents to break down the same kind of thing into the final result being like a podcast similar to that. I'm not quite there yet, but I've been playing around. I put a post out on it today. But the key thing for me is not just for podcasts, but imagine how much more realistic you can get with research reports, analysis, writing various things. People complain right now that the thing doesn't quite sound like them and that they have to do a lot of fine tuning. But Google's shown here that with podcasts, you can get something that's quite realistic. I said the magic word Google.
You said the magic
and
word,
it
and
opened
the phone
up.
went off.
Google is it works. They've shown that this is like quite interesting. I think it's going to open up the doors for how people create much more realistic other things.
And the other thing is, you can take the stuff out of this and then plug it into other tools to make that magic even better. So, and I thought it was within Google, and I haven't been able to prove otherwise yet, but all the examples that I've seen so far, people have been layering this in with some video and literally having these people who look quite casual, realistic. You can kind of tell around the mouth that it's a little bit that is AI-ish. But, for short, snappy content, such as stuff on TikTok and Instagram, you can create some pretty realistic audio and video podcast clips and send that out in the world. What tool were they using?
Heygen.
Heygen.
Heygen. It's something where you can throw these like sound clips, or you can put in text and it will generate, and you can choose from different avatars and it will generate that kind of stuff. Or you could give like an image and turn your own kind of image, or I think maybe off video, like a short video of you, it can turn that into an avatar. Can do different languages and stuff as well. I know people that want to do that kind of stuff. But I'm even thinking for this, like I do a newsletter, a very popular newsletter, I wish, on a couple of thousand subscribers on LinkedIn, for my Founder's Journey newsletter, right? Which is like just what have I been up to this week? And I invariably talk about AI a lot because that's most of my week, but a little bit about blockchain and other tech. I just do the write-up and my opinions and rants, but I'm thinking now with this, and I've tested it on a few old ones, and I've put it on older versions. You just can't do it on LinkedIn. I can do it on Substack, where you can embed like a video, an audio player there. I'm going to get these guys talking about what I've just written, and just I'll listen to it as well. Like I'll even engage with my own like newsletter. You write it and you put it out.
Some really incredible content.
This idiot.
I did this. What?
Can you believe this idiot Mark really thought that that's how AI worked, for example? But it's fascinating what it can do, because it gives you that different perspective that you might not have thought about. So given this pattern, right? I wanted to show you something here. So something I did was using Sike. So, quick little plug. But I've gone back and forth with a set of agents to try to figure out, if I give it a description about Sike, getting it to summarize the points and then getting more conversational. So I said to this agent, make sure it includes back and forth exchange where the hosts riff off each other, informal language, expressions of curiosity, etc., etc. And what it got to was like quite fascinating. So first draft, you've got the hosts there kind of talking to each other, really basic conversational. And then it gets more detailed, like one going, I'm really pumped for today's episode. Have you heard about Sike? Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's break it down for our listeners. Like language that you don't normally get, just basic, and then putting it into a transcript. And then what I've done is actually taken that through 11 Labs. So that's another tool, folks. 11 Labs is something where you can just type in text and you can have something mimic your own voice or a set of like voice actors. And doing that, I just put this thing out on LinkedIn today. So let's go to my LinkedIn. You're seeing behind the scenes here, folks. This is like crazy stuff right here. Here we go. Not that one. Maybe it's this one here. Okay. So I did this thing here, and I'll play the video. And with the magic of technology, we should be able to hear it, right? So
Unmute.
unmute is what we do. But we just had to show you because. So here's the results. So we'll take a look at that. There we go. After a little bit of manipulation, using 11 Labs, downloading a few videos, inserting a few...
Or nodules. Think of them as super organized digital filing cabinets.
Yep.
You can store, search, and access documents all in one place.
Gotcha.
Plus, they have this cool feature called micro-signatures for verifying data securely.
Nodules? Love the name. And micro-signatures sound like something James Bond would use. But what if I need to brainstorm or jot down ideas on the fly?
That's where their dreams feature comes in. It's dynamic and interactive.
So, I mean, the voices chosen are a bit robotic and stuff, but you can imagine if you had better voices, you can actually get dialogue that is getting similar to Google's. But the point is I'm not trying to create a podcast. I just wanted to break it down and see how they've got it.
People currently compare it and they call it podcasting. But for me, I think one of the biggest avenues that this is going to open up or provide support for businesses is walkthrough guides, informative pieces of content where things that usually would cost a little bit too much money for them to create, missing videos on their websites around how their product works, or even just explaining what their product is. Now they can just put these transcripts or documents into the notebook and boom, out. You've got a video now that supports it. And then all someone needs to do is just do the whole scrolling and clicking around while doing a screen recording and overlay that audio to it. It's perfect.
I think that's a great way to do it and stuff. Like I took, in that case there, that was just not bland, but like a very formal, basic description of what Sike does.
Yeah. And
it's turned the words into something else. Like now I could do that with Notebook LM as well. And you could see some interesting results coming from that. But that's definitely a really key point. Like if you've got something that you're looking at, you could actually expand on and see more of the idea from something like this. And being able to figure out as we're working on what are the underlying instructions that can get you to something similar. Well, now you do that on other content where you can tweak what those instructions are. I think it's just going to open up the doors. So I think what they've done here is really, it is new in terms of what they've done because there have been other podcast generating apps before, but this is much more dynamic than any of those other ones.
I'm assuming it's underpowered by Gemini
it would be,
and other tools. Which
I can't see them using OpenAI, for example, but you never know. But yeah, really interesting stuff there. I think a lot of people have only just started experimenting with it and we're starting to see more shared now. Obviously, there could be an overrun and we're just going to only hear content like that. I've already seen people complain on LinkedIn. This is they're not going to listen to something blah, blah, blah that someone else has done because this is the second or third time they've heard this kind of thing. But I'm sure that there'll be voices, there'll be new stuff. Like I don't get the complaining about tech because it's the worst it will ever be, which means it only gets better. So relax.
I have seen a couple of reports come out around more job losses because of AI. People like shortening the requirements on their organization due to AI integration.
Yeah.
But what people aren't seeing is they're not talking about the upside enough. And this has actually opened up doorways for new opportunities, new jobs. People are able to do things that they couldn't previously do before because of skill limitations. There is a balance to both sides of this equation.
There's an interesting argument, right? Like where it's and the AI is not the strongest yet. It is getting there. In many ways, it's really great and it's highly accessible. But there's certainly things that just a human would do better. And I'm sure there's going to be an inflection point. But there are certain things that you just get blocked by because you don't have access. It's not democratized. Having a democratized level of access but done in a safe way. For example, like in healthcare, which was discussed in another event that I was at, like how do you actually democratize access? Well, you do it, but you want to make sure that it's done in a safe way. And another one, it's not unsafe to have, for example, startups access to marketing tools that they wouldn't normally be able to access because they can't afford to have people that come in, review them and stuff. Now, it's going to affect consultants, but you've got to just up your game. We're in this transition period. There is nothing that you can do. There is something that you can do, and that is either something or nothing. If you do nothing, you'll get left behind, guaranteed. If you do something, you'll at least be able to position yourself either taking advantage of the tool or finding the flaws in it to showcase why your artisanal way is better.
I love it, and this actually talks to I'm really disappointed I forget his name. A really good inspirational talker, and his comment was
Simon
it's
Sinek.
very easy. Not Simon Sinek. No, it's similar, but it's very easy to be cynical, to be upset and complain about something.
Yep.
It's very hard to be someone who's the go-getter or speaks positively and gets it done no matter how bad it is.
Yeah.
And because AI's come in, everyone wants to complain because that's the easiest thing to do rather than going, how can we do something better? How can we adapt to this? How can we bring it into what we're doing?
Even then,
I love that sentiment.
You can use AI to actually help you. If you don't know how to think about it, you can put in your problem into an AI that you can
Get the
access.
AI to solve your issue.
Get the AI to help you understand what you could do. This is the irony of it. It's not like one of those eras where if shit happened, you're stuck, nothing, right? And I'm sure there are definitely those things. Like people that have lost their jobs will, rail against this, and like
That's fair.
I think that it absolutely is. It's unfair what happened to them, and it's fair that they have that opinion. But you can actually use these things to help put you in a better place than you were before. Now, when more of this gets widespread, you're going to see that, rising tide lifts all boats. It's not enough just to have, hey, I know how to use ChatGPT. No, that'll be basic. That'll be like, hey, I know how to Google search. I know how to use a calculator. It's arguably, some people don't know how to use a calculator well enough. But in any case, I think it's really interesting what we've got here. So
Agreed. I completely agree. And very exciting. And like you said, it opens a lot of doors for those who couldn't previously afford certain tools to do things. This is, again, one of those amazing problem solvers for startups,
I think it is.
content creators alike. It's great.
Absolutely. I just wanted to highlight, as I mentioned there is the Build Club. If you guys haven't seen them, Annie Liao and the crew, and there was a guy named Arun Prasad who helped me run the Roundtable. They've got a lot of cool things they do. So if you're in different cities around the world, my friend, around the world, you can actually do stuff with Build Club. So really cool things. So keep an eye out on them. There's an event next week that they're doing with NVIDIA, which is really good. So we've done something with NVIDIA as well when I was helping to run Data Science and AI Australia. The guys there, Michael, Ray, and James, they're going to be doing more events as well. But Build Club is really doing cool things too. So I think you wanted to talk about OpenAI.
I was going to say, leading into all these big announcements, OpenAI coming out with their update. And we kind of, you mentioned this a little bit last week because
it came out on Friday.
Yeah, and so
So
we had actually talked about this, but now I think it was still getting sprinkled around. People hadn't really latched onto it yet.
Yeah.
I think it was even was it beta at that particular point?
Kinda.
Now
yeah.
everyone has it. I can't remember exactly. But
What is it?
this is O1. OpenAI O1.
Ooh,
Adding more figures to the end of it, which is weird because, they were at 4 and now we've gone
So
backwards.
where's 5? They you know why they've done it that way?
O1?
Yeah.
No, tell me.
Paradigm shift, they think. So this is resetting because this is a new way of doing it. And they're kind of right, but please.
Right. I think we talked about this before where it is a paradigm shift because we'll get into why, but at the same time, it's not completely reinventing the wheel. I think it's just putting emphasis on something that a lot of AIs were not necessarily getting wrong, but just not completing to the best of extent. Where there was this big rush to have things move and respond as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
They're now taking a step back and going, all right, what if we get it to just consider what it's doing a little bit more?
Yeah.
And I think some of the examples that we were giving before, when prior to this, using 4 and 3.5 and whatever, was we would tell it to do this. We would say, okay, can you question this? Like add some personas and have a conversation with yourself around what you think the best answer is. And now with O1, it's sort of fed that in prior to any of those prompts that you may be giving it, which I think is really, really cool. So it's looping, it's learning, it's questioning itself before it even goes through the prompts of like giving you the results that
It shows reasoning
Yeah.
and stuff there.
And what I also found interesting, which is something that OpenAI hasn't done previously, is that it's also showing you that reasoning. So you're able to then click on, I don't know if you pull up the example here, you're able to then click on
I'll have to bring
the
it up.
actual
Let me find an example here.
the process of while it's doing it. So not
Yep.
even after it's done it, of while it's doing it, and it's showing you in real time what that reasoning and processes and steps that it's going through.
Yep.
But before it then gives you the result.
Absolutely. So, for example, because I didn't think we were going to bring it up, let me just bring up a new thing for O1 reasoning, and let's just get this one on screen, minimize that, and how do I drag this across? through the magic of the internet, we get to bring it across. So here's O1 preview. So I've selected it from the drop down there.
Yeah, still.
And let's talk to you about, hey.
And so this is, just to clarify, this is only available to people who are on the Plus subscription and a team subscription as well. And I know that there are APIs, etc., that are available for businesses to start integrating. But, I question whether it is relevant for businesses at this point.
Breaking it down, studying blockchain. I've said break down blockchain. So it's thought for 9 seconds, and you can actually click. Now, normally that click thing
Very
would.
simple term there. It's like
What's that?
asking for a definition rather than giving it a.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
why it was,
yeah.
This was a quick one. Like
Yeah.
sometimes they'll take up to a minute.
Oh yeah, exactly. Depending on what you're trying to do. But the point is that it breaks it down into these kind of. It's given like a few steps that it's looking at. You can minimize that. But I was just going to say that click that you sometimes see on these ChatGPT tools is where it shows you the thinking, and usually that thinking was more around how has it written its Python code, how is it written, how has it looked at a certain file and opened it to do some analysis. But now it's more around the reasoning, and then you see a more detailed answer here than you would normally get when you run tools like this. So I think that is certainly interesting there. So that's one thing, but like you said, you can actually get it to do like complex problem solving, for example, or like give it a document and then break it down. That sort of thing.
And the thing I love about this is that it is putting a bit more challenge, and I think there were some stats around it, which we don't need to show up, but the around its accuracies of the results that are now coming out of it. Like it's put a big challenge on the likes of Claude, who I think were way above most other LMs when it came to Python code creation, game creation.
Yeah.
And now I would say OpenAI has probably closed that gap significantly. To a point where, because it's able to provide that reasoning and challenge itself, the outcome you get from a code perspective is a little bit more accurate on first try than what Claude is actually generating now.
Yeah, it's definitely had more reasoning there. I haven't tried it for the code stuff yet, but I definitely use because we're doing a lot of coding and analysis and stuff in our work, so we use it to just go, give me a Python function to be able to do this. Here's the fields, because I can't throw in like private data sets in there. Like, know your privacy, folks. But like, here are the fields. I want to be able to do this. What's kind of like Python code I could use to do that? And it gives it to me. I try it out. And usually you go a bit back and forth with it, but I imagine that this one's going to be better in terms of quality. But you do need to note, though, that we saw O1 Preview. O1 Mini is the one that's been fine-tuned for code. O1 Preview has not. So there's even a difference there. You think Mini is just like a worse model. It's not. But I wanted to highlight this. So this is from the ARC group. So ARC Prize is like a prize for how do you actually get these AI models to achieve like more AGI type status. But when they've reviewed, this is their blog, they've reviewed how things work under the hood, and they said it represents a paradigm shift, but it's more about going from memorizing answers, right, to memorizing reasoning. So it's still that memorization kind of level, and it's still probability based. This is still something that you need to take with a grain of salt in certain cases.
Definitely.
Just because it can reason, for example, with itself that yes, there are 3 R's in the word strawberry, does not mean that you can rely on it alone. The only ones that you can really rely on are when you're getting the AI to write code, and it's literally where it's doing things like, well, you can verify the code and run it and see if it works, but you still need to look over it. But that's more likely to get you proper outcomes, because there's a world of deterministic, which is like 1 times 1 is always equal to 1, unless you're Terrence Howard, or 1 plus 1 is always equal to 2. But probabilistic is what we're getting with these models, where it's a roll of the dice as to whether or not you're going to get the right answer. Now, you can steer it to making it more deterministic and reliable, but it's still a probability model, even with this reasoning. So just to be aware of that, that's why they're talking about it. It's memorizing answers is one thing. Now it's memorizing reasoning, which is a step next, which is great, but you still have to check it.
100%. And I think that's the case for any AI tool at this current state. Like, we're still in the, especially if you're doing, this application has been related a lot now to the healthcare industry, to coding, to all these, legal even, all these things that they require good accuracy, but there is always a massive caveat to them that you need to check what's coming out of it.
I think that's actually a blessing in disguise, right? Like that needing to check people on the complaints about it are either, well, AI must be bad because I have to check what's the point? Well, the point there is that now it takes you 5 minutes to do something that used to take you 50. That's the point. Don't forget that. On the other side, people are like, well, if I have to like, always like check the work, then kind of like, what's the point of even using AI? Maybe that's not the other side. Maybe it's the same argument. But my point is that there are these negatives that people see about this kind of stuff. But you got to find those, like, it's not even a silver lining. It's a massive, big positive thing that these tools can actually do far more automated work. Like ASIC, which we spoke about a few weeks ago and stuff, when they're doing not a few weeks ago, last week, ASIC did a test where the complaints were, it doesn't sound human, or it's only like 60%, 50% accurate. It's like, yeah, well, A, it was getting better, and B, it was so much faster than the humans. Find a way to work with it.
50% of the way.
Yeah, find a way to work, with this kind of tool rather
Work
than
faster and smarter.
I just wanted to bring up no, please go ahead.
I was going to just touching back to the API and the difference between the O1 Mini. I just brought that up quickly because there are some distinct differences around, I guess, the capability of both. Definitely the general output performance of the the preview mode is better than the mini version.
Yes, agree.
So it does have there's that limitation on that sense, but as you did say, the O1 Mini is more targeted towards that code-based generation and also has the API aspect of things as well. So for our businesses, in that sense, the OpenAI Mini is also more affordable than running the standard API mode.
Yep.
But that is also because of those two distinct limitations. So it's running less processing in the back, which is why it's more affordable. That said, the output of preview mode has 32,000 when it comes to its output limits, whereas mini model has an output limit of 64,000.
Oh, interesting.
So it has a bit of a higher output limit, but both have 128,000 on their context
Oh, good.
window as well.
It's only half the Bible. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly right. So from the OpenAI O1 API though doesn't have function calling calling functionality.
Not yet.
That is coming. Support for system messages and other features, but again, that's all coming very soon. They are still in preview mode. They're not in all out access for everyone mode yet.
Perfect.
So yeah, just some key differences there, just so people understand what the differences are.
Yeah, no, definitely need to take a look at that and stuff, because like whether you're using it in ChatGPT or through the API, you're going to get different kinds of results if you're using the wrong model, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's worth having a look at that. I just wanted to go back quickly into Sike, if I just like maximize this a little bit, but if we go to, don't know why that doesn't go away. So something to learn with Arc Browser, some little things just like delay there, but what I want to show you is that in Sike, so I'm using an older version where there's a whole lot of threads and stuff there. So if we just like minimize this, you can with Sike have that, okay, I had a simple kind of prompt before, but we had a feature in Dreams where if you just have no notes that you've added there, digital sticky notes, which is the main feature of Dreams, where you can talk to the digital sticky notes. If you just don't have anything and you ask the AI to just tell you about a simple topic, it similarly to OpenAI, and we've had this out for a little while, breaks things down into what it thinks it should look at. In this case, tell me about blockchain. It's breaking it down into definition, key components, how blockchain works. And you can see on screen here, folks, it's creating the building blocks of how it would answer those different questions. So it's doing something very similar. We've engineered it a little bit differently. O1 is definitely great at reasoning. This one's more specifically about expanding on certain topics. It's not geared towards, hey, give me reasoning for this. So, but it just shows you that you can do some interesting and similar things. And there've been people that have shown how O1 seems to be working under the hood. And one really great one is from a guy named Vincent off of LinkedIn. He's part of Build Club too, and we've interviewed him for the Oz DeFi kind of podcast, where he highlights here how it's actually doing some of its thinking. So if you have a look on screen here, when this just explodes out, here we go. So this is what's happening behind the scenes. So if you think of like, if you've got input, the AI is doing some reasoning and you've got some output, and that whole bit of chunk of context is being put into the next layer of input. and that becomes its input that it does reasoning and output, and that whole thing then becomes the input. So it's this reasoning upon reasoning and prompts upon prompts to get you know, these sorts of answers. This is the hypothesis that people have had, and it's interesting to see, you know, just how the reasoning is broken down, right?
Is that, I think it's being called inference in some instances around. So
Yeah.
there's much more emphasis on the inference that previously LLMs just weren't doing.
Yeah.
It allows them to get this distinct difference when it comes to that reasoning.
Exactly. And then the last thing is that what is also happening is how the AI models are being trained. So before you had RLHF, which is humans in the loop, basically checking the work that's being done, having humans validate, you know, these are the sorts of things that are right answers. That's how ChatGPT, well, the first version like GPT-3, 3.5, what we were seeing was trained. What they've done now is being able to find how to get synthetic checkers of that work, and which is much faster, as we were speaking about, like with humans being faster. So you can imagine that it's a different type of training now that you've got humans actually helping to, AI helping to do some of that checking and training. So it's fascinating stuff. So that's why they're arguably right in saying it's a paradigm shift.
You did say humans there, but weirdly, I knew who you were talking about.
Yeah, it's weird, right? So it's not veered too far off course. It is still memorization, as ARC folks say. It's memorization of reasoning, but now, you know, there are some other things underneath the hood that are just making it able to do more of these features and capabilities that you've seen. So fascinating stuff.
Thought we'd get into some quick news off the back of this.
Which one?
It's just around some things that are happening in the market that I don't think we need to expand on overly too much. iOS 16, iPhone 16 is here.
Okay. Do I have a link for that?
No, no links for that. But
Okay.
it's interesting enough. I didn't want to talk about it too much, but I just wanted to start some of my disappointments with it and how they've fallen a bit behind. Like the device itself, incredible. Probably the best camera features, functionality, capability out there now for phones. Like well ahead of the market in video and quality. But AI, like again, they're all talk and nothing available yet.
Really?
So they've released their devices out in the market. They should be coming, I think, this month.
Yep.
But a lot of the AI features aren't coming for another month that follows. And even that's mainly on some of the photo features. And then the broader rest of the AI features that many phones already have in the market aren't coming until early next year, like March.
Really?
So they're a bit behind on the AI game, which is interesting. So I'm wondering how that's going to impact the sales as we move into the release
I think
of 16.
it will definitely have an impact, right? Like
I would think so, given that
people
this is the hot topic.
Yeah.
That's why you saw at their latest big event, they were all AI talk.
Yep.
But then every time they're just like, yeah, but it's not out yet. It's like,
but not today.
not today. But here's the device, but not today.
So have they said anything about like have they addressed, you know, this kind of stuff? Like,
They haven't addressed why. I think the prediction is that they're just. I don't know, the one good thing is that Apple is all about quality when it comes to their software and their integration.
they're not gonna rush.
They're obviously not happy with where things are at yet to release it, which I think is a great thing. But again, you know, when you're a multi-trillion-dollar company and you're not able to get it right in line with all of your competitors, you know, that's going to have some hits.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in that space. Something that thought was very cool that I saw this week is, have you heard of Roblox?
I have heard of Roblox. I
do have a link for this one. So Roblox is they're like a build your world kind of like the Minecraft-esque, a little focused a little more on a broader age demographic. A lot of education tools are built on it too, around, you know, world creation, game creation. And what they've just announced, it's not out yet, but what they have announced really excitingly is now an AI integration tool for 3D environment generating.
Oh, okay.
So essentially, there might be an example of video on the feed here at all.
Let's have a look. There's a backpack.
There's a backpack. Well, essentially, what you can do, you could be typing in, I want to create X, Y, this type
Oh,
of environment.
yeah.
Boom, it generates the environment. And you're like, oh, I want to give it a desert look and feel. And boom, suddenly you got your desert look and feel. And you can dive in and experience that environment within the Roblox platform.
The Arc browser just crashed.
Oh, there we go. I love your background anyway. So I think
On
it's really
screen. Great work, folks. Great work, Arc.
But so Roblox is one of the largest game
Yeah.
and platforms on the planet. Like
Absolutely.
300 million active users each month. And so this integration of AI is sure to make waves. I know that a lot of other gaming tools are trying to catch up in this space, but this is really going to set them apart, particularly with a lot of the already things that you can do within the Roblox environment. So the worlds that you can create. The kids, I mean, they love it. It's such
They've got the greatest imagination ever because they've not
Exactly.
been hit by the 9 to 5 of school and work and stuff and uni. And that, imaginations, I'm sure, will run wild with something like this. And you start to see it with like other tools, but it's great to see it in games. We spoke about Doom and all these, like, on the Doom side of things, the game generating the images in real time, some choppiness and some, mismatching of objects and stuff, but effectively it was working. And then the other side was like, what was it, like Minecraft? That's the one I kind of get mixed up between Minecraft and Roblox. But anyway,
same.
Minecraft,
They compete in the same space.
AI agents, working to build their own societies.
Loved that. That was one of my favorite things.
Now, it's a
I saw.
reflection of human society, really.
It did, and
it's
it did a pretty good job
trained
with it.
on us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a reflection of us, folks. So, maybe, who knows? Maybe we're AI and the creator, if there is one out there.
This is definitely an all generated world.
We're just generated.
Worlds within worlds within worlds within worlds.
I said if there's a creator. I don't know what people believe and stuff. I'll have my own beliefs. But I think it's really interesting. The maybe religious moments that people might have when it comes to something like this. So we'll see.
It creates its own religion.
What are you thinking next?
So that's really good, and I'm excited when that comes out to play that with my little one. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Fantastic.
Amazon, on the topic of podcasts before, Amazon's released now their own AI voice clone. So people who, and this is limited, I think, to certain locations in the world right now. But essentially, rather than
we can listen to the
having
story.
to do your own voiceovers,
Yeah.
you can now put an AI tool on top of your book readings, teach it your own voice, and then it narrates it for you. So
Right. I thought it was
gone are the-
actually John Lithgow here, but it's just an ad for something else.
It's just that. But gone are the
Damn.
days now where you'll need to sit and in a booth for 20 hours having to read your own book. If you're an author, you can now have an AI do it for you. There you go.
That is absolutely nuts. So yeah, they've got the Google one here, Amazon. Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting, like what we saw with Google just create before, and what we can. It opens up our minds to just the possibilities of getting these things to be much more realistic. I think it's going to be great to see what you could do with this for books. Now, the whole kind of like voiceover kind of industry and stuff, obviously they will be affected by this kind of stuff. So it's going to be really interesting to see. You see some tools like put in rules, like you can't do stuff that's made to mimic celebrities, for example. But there's
But in this instance, they are mimicking celebrities, but they're mimicking themselves for a purpose. If the author is a celebrity, for some purpose.
so 11 Labs, for example, you can't mimic like a voice you just grab off the internet of a celebrity and stuff. It actually asks you to verify that you're that person. And even if you do too many of different voices of people in your team, it starts asking you to verify that person.
Yeah.
That it'll get you to do a test.
How would you verify it?
So it gets you to do a test where it's gonna show you stuff on screen, and in real time you have to have a mic on and you have to say the stuff that's on screen, and it will record that and see if it matches the voice that you're trying to upload and stuff. So it's a pretty interesting two-factor authentication thing.
Yeah, nice.
But where there's not two-factor authentication, there is a Chinese app. I think it's called Minimax or something like that.
Yep.
But the website that it takes you to after you go to Minimax AI's website, it takes you to another website where you can do something like this. So do you remember the Will Smith eating spaghetti kind of meme? That is something that has been like a major kind of test for folks to do to see if a video generating app is realistic or not. Have a look at this. So this is just from me typing it in, and it's just stopped playing there. We'll play it again. This is Will Smith eating spaghetti in a much more realistic way. The choppiness is just the choppiness from my laptop, which I do need to update, and you can see Minimax there in the bottom right, but you can see that it looks pretty damn realistic of like Will Smith.
You can see in the noodles, and like the fork is sort of.
He's got two forks.
But he's got two forks as well.
Yeah.
Will Smith, so on, Cam.
But it's crazy. Like some
that
tools have no.
I mean, look at the reflection that it's even generating off of his face on the glass. Like, what the hell? That's generated imagery.
Some
That's
tools
insane.
have stronger rules around what you can and can't do. Other tools don't.
No, I mean, location-based wise, I'm not surprised, but
Yeah. Anyway,
this is where the innovation is going to come out.
that's it, folks. What have you got next,
On the
Chris?
topic of sticking with our big guns here, Google. I mean, we talked about Google a bit before with their notebook, but they've got a couple of other things that are coming out or are out. So Google VEO is going to be out soon. VEO. So YouTube Shorts. Essentially, this is a tool that will allow you to create some short field content, push it up into YouTube Shorts very, very quickly. So it's pretty much just AI generated text to video type content.
Wow.
So if you've got your ideas, you know what you want to create, or even have some recommended ideas from the tool itself, you can create that content and push it out. We've seen obviously Instagram with their tagging of AI generated images, and Instagram's actually released an update on that recently as well.
Oh yeah,
to
that's right.
ensure that when it gets it wrong, you're able to challenge it and remove the tags, because
As you should.
as expected, like it is making mistakes left, right, and center.
Making mistakes, but also like what counts as AI? If I'm using Photoshop, for example, to enhance an image, like all of a sudden that's AI.
Exactly right. So it's but at the same time, so Google is now going to be doing the same thing, and they're going to start doing some AI flagging on their imagery throughout, obviously, Google Images and Google platforms, etc. So that's really good. I'm happy that this is happening, that these tags are happening.
Yeah.
But at the same time, look, it's going to get it wrong. So hopefully there'll be some limitations on the short term, just like Instagram.
Absolutely. There's always limitations. Speaking of, what's the next one that you got here?
The last thing I wanted to talk about, back to the game world of things. This was more, I came across this as a video thing. I haven't had a chance to play around or delve into the platform or the tool itself, but I thought this was really, really awesome, because as a massive gamer, and we talked about Roblox before, how I'm excited to play that with my little one. As a gamer, AI has been a big sort of discussion around how it's going to change how we build things and how we do things.
Yep.
And this is the first time that I've seen an AI tool that's separate from some sort of big gaming company actually generating game type of content. So there are two of them here. One is Game Gen, and the other is Game N Gen. Game Gen O and Game N Gen.
Okay.
And what these essentially doing are text to video game creation. And so they're actually generating interactive environments and running characters through them. And you can be very descriptive around what you want them to do in short form builds. And so what this allows you to do is start to test ideas, test game creation ideas before you start wasting all this time building things up from the ground up.
Yeah.
Because using platforms to build games is a very timely and costly thing. And this just like jumps you that way for the testing phase of things. You wouldn't trust it to do the game.
Yeah.
It's getting you that couple of steps forward.
So it's doing that like very initial kind of cuts of like validating if an idea is possible.
Yeah.
Will you get crowdfunding or startup funding and stuff for that? But interestingly, I can see a downside of this where people purport that they will be building a game like this, getting some sort of Kickstarter,
using AI
taking the money and running, because even
even
with like basic stuff, we saw groups where maybe they didn't develop in full, but they were taking clips of like Unreal Engine has a whole library of like basic stuff, right? And they were using clips of that and basically making it out like that was their game, getting people to believe it when they weren't really doing that much development, doing bare minimal or if any kind of development and taking money from that. Now that will be easier, but so hopefully what happens is that platforms that are enabling this kind of stuff flag that sort of thing. Because if I saw something where it's like, yeah, it's the AI that's really done it right, or it's been flagged that AI has really done it, I'd want to see more proof that they're actually going to be able to build the real game.
Yeah, that's true. So careful where you spend your money in this space. That's such a good point. And I mean, the other risk that it does pose, and this is why I asked you to pause it here, is as you can see, as the tool is training and creating the content, you are able to reference other existing games. And so that does beg the question of IP and copying content. So here they've referenced things like GTA 5, Assassin's Creed, Cyberpunk, and The Witcher to generate their content. Literally, one of the examples that was given in the video is I want to create a game that has The Witcher character in it, and boom, there's this environment generated with the character Geralt of Rivia, and it begs the question of, should you be doing that? Like, should you be able to use IP to generate your game content, or should there be something unique about it?
I mean, it's interesting because like you've got public works of art someone could say, well, you're not allowed to paint in that style because someone else has done it before. Like, where do we draw the line here?
True.
It's like, hey, you didn't, like, really abstract. You didn't walk the 800, 900 kilometers it is to Sydney from Melbourne or something like that. So you've just pressed the button there. You haven't actually done the work. Like, where do we draw the line? Like, and I know it's no joke because people put a lot of effort into these video games, but this is the thing, tech is moving forward. Do we just resign to the fact and just put laws to stop anything kind of happening? Because, we'll go to it in the next section when we talk about what's kind of happening in regulation space, but it's this interesting, where does the line get drawn? And it's certainly not something that's going to be the same in video games versus healthcare versus other industries. So, I mean, but this brings it up. It puts it like in the light very
It
fully.
does put it in the light, but at the same time, I think you're right. There is a responsibility for businesses and companies to do, and this is super early stage, right? But this is nothing that is like publicly sold or available. So maybe its referencing is more from a training, learning,
Could be.
like just an example point of view.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens when stuff like this actually starts coming to market. But I do hope the responsibility gets put into this, just like we have with all the other AI tools that are getting questioned on the pump. They make their change and adjustments. Can't generate content with particular celebrities or use their voices. There's two-factor thing. Like, I think that stuff will become more enforced. Depending on the regions that you're in. But at the same time, I'm here for it. Like, this is awesome. This is really cool. It's going to open up doors for other people to do things and play with games and content that they previously have never been able to do. But also the cautionary element of it is definitely something to be conscious of.
So on that note there was it reminds me of something that just came up when you doom scroll through YouTube.
I do.
All the apps have it now. There's even shorts that I'm seeing on LinkedIn. Like, LinkedIn of all places now has shorts that you can scroll through, video shorts.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? Anyway, that's interesting. You utilize that as you will. But, whether it's Instagram or YouTube, one of them, it had a clip of an old movie that Mel Gibson's in. And the premise of this is that the character's son is kidnapped. And there's, it's back in the 90s, so $2 million or whatever is the prize. The prize,
$50 million.
Prize. I said prize. I meant ransom for the son. And he goes on TV, and this Mel Gibson is the father, and he turns it around. And what does he do? He says that now this $2 million isn't for you.
It's for the public.
This is for the public to give any information to bring you in, dead or alive. This is turning it around. You will receive none of this money if you do not, bring back my son. The only way to stop this is for you to bring back my son alive, unharmed. If you don't, $2 million for someone to murder, whatever thing. Turn it around. Now, what I'm thinking with this is, can you imagine a situation where you're allowed to use these, like, The Witcher, Grand Theft Auto, Assassin's Creed and stuff in terms of your game. But if you're building a game using an AI platform like this, it has to be shown that you've used these things, right? And maybe it makes and this is up to the public, this is up to the market value. Maybe it initially makes these games just really cheap because people can see that you've used tools like this, you've gotten to market faster, and yeah, it's a fun game, but knowing that you've done that and the public isn't like that interested in games that are just like that, until such a point where someone like remixes it like DJs do with samples in such a way that, wow, that's a really popular kind of song. I will pay more for that. The market will be the one that finds the value. But I could see something like that maybe happening.
Or even on that remix is like could be adding more content to the existing game, right?
Exactly.
We've expanded a couple of extra levels using it. Yeah.
We're all
I just
standing.
love that this whole thing came about with a 1996 reference to a Mel Gibson movie, Ransom, which
I mean, it's only come up because it's in my context window right now because it was only last night that I saw it. But, we are all building things on the shoulders of giants. And we've got to be careful with how we regulate and, push things onto the tech.
Great.
And on that...
You wanted to talk about regulation.
Yeah, I do. So we spoke about how there is the regulation that's coming out from Department of Innovation, Research and Science or something like that. But Ed Husick put out that there's 10 AI guardrails, being things like you have to have transparency, there has to be governance and stuff in what you're doing. In certain high-risk scenarios, there has to be humans in the loop, and there has to be proof that you are remaining compliant as a business. And what they've gone out to the public with is have a think about these guardrails, comment on them. We're going to ask you a few questions on like what defines high risk. So in any case, that's out there. But then also, given the healthcare stuff, AI in healthcare has been a topic. I went to an event. I'll show you some photos from that. But Department of Health and Aged Care in Australia is also looking at a consultation where they're asking a few things. So they want to know, can you help us clarify and strengthen existing legislation, or do we need to do things differently? They're looking at doing a webinar, a couple of different webinars where you can have a listen to people talking about this kind of stuff. And then there's submissions that you can put in by, I think, October 14th. But with both of these, one of the things that came out of discussions that we've had and with the Build Club Roundtable was that an interesting thing would be to see that there are broad brushstrokes or broad rules at the higher government level that says that, yes, when there is a high risk use case in certain industries, or maybe in all industries, whether it's finance, healthcare, legal are the ones that are focused on, but maybe even other industries, if it's high risk, you need to have more guardrails around it. Humans in the loop checking, qualified humans, blah, blah, blah. So it can't be just a GP, someone that's not qualified but works in the health industry checks the work. No, it has to be a GP, for example. But if it's broad brushstrokes that if it's a high risk thing that humans need to be in the loop and there's other checks and balances, it shouldn't be the government or the one department in government that defines what is high risk. The argument that we have from Build Club is that it should be the different departments and industry bodies in medical, in finance, in legal that define like what is high risk. And then the other part is that instead of having rules that we just make up here in Australia, for example, we actually have something that aligns with international standards like ISO. So there's something called ISO 42001, which is all about these AI risks. So I think there's some really interesting and pragmatic stuff that can be done, but we certainly want to avoid regulating the technology, and we just want to focus on like how do you just regulate the applications of that technology, because if technology was to be regulated, maybe you're not allowed to use math or calculus or Python, because bad guys also use Python to do, hacky kind of stuff into your computer. So we've got to be careful to not over-regulate. The EU AI Act is seen as, it's regulation over there in Europe, and they were first to get out there, but in some ways it's over-regulating because they're getting into like the tech rather than the actual applications that are built on top. So it's interesting times. These are open right now for people to look into, and we've got like further thoughts on like how do you actually keep track of what's going on in an AI kind of platform in a safe way. Well, interestingly, blockchain could come in there, and I'll talk about that in my submissions. But yeah, regulation is like a very key topic right now, because if we don't get this right, we run the risk of having regulation that just pushes developers out of Australia. And I mean developers that are well-meaning and well-intentioned will get pushed out, because one of the things could be that you could go to jail because if somewhere down the line you built an app that helps you write meeting notes, but then, I don't know, terrorists have used it for bad stuff, right? Now you get thrown in jail because of unintended consequences of the app. And there's definitely lines to be drawn there. But really interesting stuff. So, discuss, folks.
Wasn't there a kid recently who created an application that ended up being used for criminal organizations that currently...
There's many kids that do that. Which one are you talking about?
There was one that recently the kid got arrested.
I don't know.
I really want to have this up. He created an application.
Search it.
I can't remember it exactly, but he created an application that has been used rampantly in the criminal underworld organizations to have discussions and plan and prep things. And
right,
I think he created it originally with good intent, but then
wait, are you talking about Telegram?
No, not Telegram.
Okay.
There was a different one. I'm pretty sure it was a different one. Okay. But anyway, it got picked up quite a lot, and I think he got arrested recently because he started to charge. And
I didn't hear people getting arrested, but I did hear about apps that are more used for like underworld, communications and stuff like that. So, and no doubt that there's, we can go back to like really primitive stuff, and there'd be ways to like signal each other that the cops are coming or something like that. You see it in like TV series like The Wire or whatever. Like there's always going to be ingenuitive ways to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, someone building something specifically for that purpose, I think is a lot different versus someone that's built some tech that just so happens to be used by others for nefarious kind of reasons.
I found the thing. It was called Ghost. It was a ghost messaging app.
Oh, right. And it would
so-
delete like messages and stuff.
It was built
automatically?
solely for the criminal underworld.
go.
And this,
Yeah.
I think it was this I'm going to be bad with accents. I'm really apology for
Do it.
running this. J Ji Yun Jung,
Okay.
or maybe Jung, if the J silent, I'm not sure.
Uh-huh.
But he faces 5 charges, including supporting a criminal organizations and benefiting from proceeds of crimes.
Where was this?
This was in Australia. So he made the app went international. It's been used worldwide.
Australia's got a lot of
and-
ingenuity, folks.
Yeah, so he sold modified smartphones for $2,350 Australian dollars,
Okay.
and $1,600 a piece, alongside a 6-month subscription to the network that he supported for the use of this app. So allowing these criminals to be able to, hundreds of criminals, all the way up into Italy and Middle East, South Korea. It went international, allowing him, and he was just like
He went
bringing in cash
global.
from it. Yeah, he went global with this app. So he got arrested.
Yeah.
He's been put forward to the courts. I think this happened a year back or 6 months ago or something.
Okay.
But yeah, so it
Yeah, I think I remember
people
that one
can
now.
start with the best of intents and then go south very, very quickly when you get a little bit greedy.
Depends on how you use it, folks. It's not the size of the AI model. It's definitely how you use it. But like that's the thing.
But
It's
I
like
completely agree.
it's all about the application of things. The technology is going to be there. It's going to expand. It's going to grow. Both sides will use it. When I say both sides, it's the people that are against you and the people that are on your side, because that's how we draw lines in the world. It's not gray. It's definitely black and white. But I'm joking. I'm being sarcastic there. There's a lot more context and nuance to things.
Caveat.
That's another thing with AI, right? Like you've got that ability to give you. And I was talking to a group of folks through Chartered Accountants ANZ. That group, we're doing a talk with basically ACT government, with a whole bunch of like accountants and whatnot, CFOs, etc. About how can you use data for data storytelling. So it was a great presenter there, Ilya, who does education kind of stuff. And then I spoke about how AI could help. And it's really interesting that it can also help give you perspectives that you might not know. So apart from like, hey, what kind of chart should I use? Or what do you think of this kind of chart if I use it for this purpose? Or like grade my dashboard. Apart from doing that kind of stuff and helping you write code, it can also help give you different perspectives that you wouldn't normally think about if you just left things on their own. So you might have we all have biases. Getting this to go, here's an article that I've written, and then give me other things that I should be thinking about, other perspectives, can give you a much more rounded kind of feeling and sense of what's going on. So I think it's really important that you see AI as this companion. I see it as an exoskeleton at times because it really amplifies what I could do. And it's like, oh yeah, I could probably do that. There's some things I probably couldn't even do if it wasn't for AI. And there's some things where it just does it faster. But it definitely can act as a companion as well, giving me those things that I just should know about.
I mean, the thing that it supports me a lot on, even like coming at it from a UX research, product strategy point of view, is it gives me access to insights and information I couldn't do previously without spending excessive amounts of money on particular research tools and etc. And the insights that I can pull out really, really quickly. And I use a wide array of different LLMs, everything from Perplexity, Sike, OpenAI, or ChatGPT, through to Dovetail, Juno. All of them play a role in that, but the cost of all of those is far less than what it was if I have to use the old school SEO research tools, or going to a consultant to do a big engagement piece with a bunch of random people in a database. Like it is making accessibility for consultants, small businesses alike, that much better, and able to get better results. Like particularly as consultants, we know how to do things. We're smart. We know how to check and cross-check, and we should be doing that at all times, as we highlighted before. But where it's able to take us with the utilization of these tools is just, it's night and day.
Absolutely. And, I think the more and more that people see what's going on in the space, and that we see major innovations and like these wow aha moments and showcases like what Google's done with the podcast stuff, more people are going to follow, not only to innovate, but also to even just come into this set of waters that we're in. Because like some people are even just standing on the shore, still, they're not like wading in it. But we're seeing it open up more and more. Like a year ago, it would be, I don't know what it is, like tenfold maybe, but there's so many more people that are starting to explore in businesses. So have hope, folks, that there is still like a lot of positivity and stuff going out there. We just have to remain in this space and keep talking about it and keep showcasing. So yeah, that's it for now,
That's
folks.
it for now, guys.
Biddy, that's all.
Kickity. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. It's another week on Digital Nexus. Like, subscribe. Please share it with your friends. Get the word out there. Help us out. We love doing this. We love sharing insights and information with you guys. And yeah, thanks again. Until next week.
Next week. See you, folks.
Stay chill.
Worldwide, tech trends blazing, digital fire. AI, rising to the sky. Digital world, we reaching high.